Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is John, the firearms instructor.
An hour away, 40 minutes away.
Yeah, I just call them. Also look at the open range times, but I'll just call them beforehand and just do that.
Well, yeah, I saw that car. Nice.
I thought that was
There should have been
I called them
44 with it.
meeting, and
Did you run this background check a little bit ago? Have
yeah.
something with it?
You live? 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm live. All right. Hello, hello. Are we live?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson.
Hello, guys. John, the firearms instructor. Welcome, welcome. If you don't know who I am, my name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida, where we specialize in you. We specialize in first-time shooter. We specialize in getting you to the next level. I would take in newbies from not shooting to shooting, and that's what we do. We are an indoor gun range which specializes in letting people do try before you buy and all different stuff like that. If you have to, you need to run this background check again. If you can't find a 44,
Can't get into the fucking safe.
all right. Okay, sorry about that. We got a little confusion going on here. All right. Sorry about that, folks. A little confusion. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to give you this podcast this evening is sponsored by us, our company. And we have our ebooks out tonight. We're going to be redoing what we did last week. Powers to Be didn't like what we were doing with the dummy guns, and they blocked us last week. So I wanted to kind of put it through again and kind of give you a little heads up on what was going on about the whole area there. But as we go here, I just want to give you a little heads up about our ebooks. The ebooks themselves we've got 4 of them now. We have the newest one is the press the trigger, and this is all about the trigger. It breaks down trigger manipulation as far as we can take it, make it so simple for you that you understand why the trigger is so important to you. A couple weeks ago, about a month now, we had Get a Grip, which this breaks down how to properly hold a pistol. Very easy, very simple. Understand the grip to control the grip, to control the weapon. And then about last summer, maybe mid-summer, somewhere along that line, we did bring out the 10 Secrets of a Firearms Instructor. For a very short time, we had this video for free, this book for free, but now we've moved it to a purchase program. It went really well. I didn't do as well as our last book, and our very first book, which is Why You Shoot Low and Left. And this is kind of one of those deals that most people who are right-handed have a problem with. Each one of these books give you deep details, gives you the problem you're having and how to solve it issues. These are great books. Now, what we've done for the holidays, we put them on sale for $1.99. You can actually look at one of these QR codes and use that. We'll take you right to our website, or you can physically do the YouTube channel as well. They're in our YouTube channel store. And for $1.99, you can download any of these books, and it gives you a lot of information. They'd be great gifts as well if you had an opportunity to share that email with a customer or a friend or a pal. And let them, if you know that guy who's really shooting low and to the left an awful lot, you could physically get them this book and you would understand it. So take advantage of the special of $1.99. We put it together. What's going to go all the way the first of the year at $1.99. Hopefully, you'll take advantage of it. It'll be in the description down below, our YouTube channel store, or my website, Firearms Training by JohnGJohnson.com. You can go to any of those and pick one of these or all of these ebooks up. And while you're on our YouTube channel, make sure you hit that bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button. And every time we upload a video, you'll be the first to know. So we're going to continue the education. We do our education stuff through our YouTube channel. We do education through our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok, our Rumble. We're on multiple streams this evening. I think we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and we're on Rumble this evening. So we're live on all those. And we are live podcasts, so we try to cover a lot of neat topics. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I did. The wife and I and the kids all went out to a restaurant. I didn't want to cook. My wife didn't want to cook, and we had to go to work the next day. So we just took the day and went to a restaurant locally here and got our fixings on. Only problem with that is there's no leftovers. I tried to convince my wife to put some of that turkey in her purse, but she said absolutely not. She would give herself up pretty quickly. She's a terrible liar. So tonight we're going to talk about trigger control. Last week we started it, but I wanted to cover it because I had a lot of cool little things I wanted to cover with you. Whether you're a beginner, aiming, or building a strong, fundamental, or experienced shooter, fine-tuning your skills. This live session is going to cover tips, drills, and programs that help you become a better shooter. Today, we are going to break down 5 keys and demonstrate 5 essential. We're not going to demonstrate. We're just going to explain the best I can. Straight from our ebook. So grab your gear. Get ready to learn. This and let's take your shooting accuracy to the next level. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat in the comments section. And let's make this interactive educational session. We did all this YouTube stuff for entertainment, education, motivation, and I hope we give you some of that this evening. We're always looking for ideas and tips. So if you have a comment about a video you'd like to see or something like that, we're always listening. All right. So let's talk a little bit. I got a little bit of cough still from that being sick a couple weeks ago. Every once in a while I get it. Went deer hunting on Sunday, saw absolutely no deer, and I got to see a couple turkeys, and I saw a squirrel. Funny thing is, the squirrel sounded like it was a 400-pound pig walking through the bushes there, and at the end it came through and it was just a squirrel. So that may have been my end of my white-tailed deer hunting for this year, because of where we hunt, they only allow $150 to be killed, and they were at $139 at the end of that night that I left. And now it looks like I have a gun show this weekend. I have a gun show the following weekend. So I'm going to be 2.5 weeks out. So most likely it's just hogs for the rest of the year. And obviously spring gobbler when that happens. But there we go from there. All right. Let's go ahead and pull this back off here. All right. There I am. So let's talk a little bit about the consistency of a trigger engagement. We've talked about this many times before, but I will tell you, you need to think about as slow as you can getting that trigger back without pulling it, snapping it, or rushing it. And this is kind of one of those things. So what we're trying to do is apply an even, steady pressure on the trigger without jerking or without anticipation. The shot, when you let it trigger break, it should surprise you. And this is what commonly, when I'm back there and I'm seeing someone's target and they're all over the place, most of the time with the snap of a trigger, they're down. Shots are down, or their shot are low and left. And if you're left-handed, they're low and right. And that tells you tremendously that most people are snapping that trigger. Bam, bam. They're really, really. So when we start getting people in the point of running through a cadence of shooting or a trigger engagement would be like a count of three. Now, one is just putting your finger on the trigger. Two is applying pressure. And three is letting the weapon cut. And a lot of times I'll try to explain that to a student by just doing the cadence count. I tell them to get ready, get your finger on the trigger, get the gun out in front of you, and then let's go. One, put your finger on the trigger. Two is slowly engaging the trigger back. And three, letting the weapon cut. Once they start getting that rhythm going, it's a lot easier to understand how much slack is in the trigger that needs to be removed before you could get into that final wall break. The trigger has some trigger travel, and that trigger travel is causing all of our anticipation. If you think about a trigger being up front, and as it begins to come back, like take a Glock, for instance, one of the worst triggers in the world when it comes to travel engagement, with the doors opening. So when you get that back, it comes back, and all of a sudden, bang, the gun cuts. Well, Glock's trigger is stiff at the beginning. It gets stiff, it gets stiffer, it gets stiffer, and then all of a sudden, it cuts. And once it cuts, you'll understand what the travel is. The problem with the Glock's trigger is it is a stiff trigger to begin with. So when you start getting it back, it's tough, it's tougher, and then it cuts. Where you take a Smith & Wesson Shield, for instance, that trigger comes back, stops at a hard wall. Anything past the wall, the weapon will cut. Take a Taurus G2C. That's a very soft but long trigger. It comes all the way to the back, and then bang, it cuts. So each trigger and trigger travel has its own place. In the revolver world, they call it staging of a trigger. Similar to what we're going to do here, we're going to stage the trigger in the semi-automatic pistol, but just takes us a little bit more workability of it to get it back to that point. It's just a slow engagement. And that kind of helps you out. So smooth, consistent trigger press. And that trigger press becomes more important the faster we shoot. Surprisingly, the faster we shoot a weapon, the more level the gun comes, the more time we spend trying to keep the gun level, the more anticipation we get. So there's a happy medium we got to get to, but you'll kind of feel, once you start shooting enough, you'll feel a good shot is good and a bad shot is bad. And it's easy for someone to feel that. We do that a lot for the new students because when they first come here, if you kind of think about it, most of them, large percentage of our students, our customers, haven't shot a pistol ever, or it's been 15 years ago. So they're pretty new to this. So we got to get them through the whole system, the grip, the stance, the trigger control, the sight picture, the sight alignment. And majority of the challenges of most people who are shooting a pistol is they get to a point where they're anticipate and pull that trigger as hard as they can. Okay. Number 2, proper trigger placement. So if we kind of think about this, most people roll their finger all the way into the gun. Can you see my finger there? And then when they pull it back, they're actually pulling the gun to the opposite side. What we're looking to do is use the tip of our finger almost like a pushing of a pin top. We want to push it back into the back of our hand. That proper trigger placement. Now, each person's a little different, so I can't say everybody has to have it right there in the very middle of the first pad of your finger, but it's pretty close to be there. The bigger your hand is, the more finger you have, the more chances are you're going to roll your finger into the gun. And there becomes a little bit of a challenge for most people. First shot's exactly where it needs to be, and then from there you roll your finger in. So I talk about shooting the gap a lot, And that gap is actually, it's hard to demonstrate, but this piece of your skin right here, that actually touches the firearm first compared to a lot of different stuff. So as that touches the firearm, it causes the front of the gun to go off to the left. But if we gap using the gap of our finger, that piece of skin doesn't touch the weapon at all. And then from there, when we slowly engage that trigger, now there are people who have long fingers or short fingers. Shorter finger, the less chances you have of putting your whole finger in the gun. The longer the finger, the more chance you have to roll it all the way in. The more you roll it in, that's where it rolls off into your hand. So proper placement is position the pad of your index finger, not the joint, on the center trigger, on the center of the trigger, and allow the best control and minimum pulling the weapon off target. And that's what's happening. When we engage, think about our points of contact. Like you take a rifle, for instance. How many points of contact do we have with a rifle? We have our right hand. We have our left hand. We have our cheek. We have our shoulder. So that gives us 4 points of contact. With a handgun, we only have 2. And neither one of those grips are 100%, if that makes sense. So we got to make sure that when we engage this weapon out in front of us, that we're getting our grip as much on our non-dominant hand than it is on our dominant hand. Because if you really think about it, if I got my trigger finger, I only have 3 fingers holding on to the gun on my dominant side. So if I'm over torquing with my dominant hand, that's going to cause those right shots for a right-handed student. But if we demonstrate that the 4 fingers are here, that's going to level the pistol out. Because if you take a pistol next time you're at the range and you squeeze it really hard with your dominant hand, it's rolling off to one side. If you squeeze softer with your right hand and more with your left hand, or vice versa if you're left-handed, you're going to level that gun out perfectly that's going to be in front of you as much as possible. And then from there, you're not going to get that push off the right, push off the left. Setting the pistol up properly in your hand starts out with putting the gun in your hand where it's going down your arm. You don't want it over your knuckle, and you surely don't want it over your other side here. You almost want to think about the gun going down the arm, because what I do, and a lot of people offer is we try to put the gun over our dominant eye as much as possible. We want you to stand with your feet shoulder width apart, bouncing on your knees and getting that good stance. But what ends up happening after that point, we need to make sure to turn our chin to get our eye over the weapon. The more our eye is over the weapon, the more we're going to be shooting over the pistol and being more accurate with it. So trigger placement is one of those things that it's just once you start doing it over and over and over again, it gets easier and easier for you to do it. Now, the next one I would recommend is the follow through. Because the follow through, what tends to happen is when you dump that round, you're dumping it because you're most likely prairie dogging or looking over your pistol to see where your impact is. Now, if you have to see where your impact is, you're not understanding your sighting system to begin with. The moment you pull your head up and look over top of the pistol, you've ruined your follow through. And that follow through is so important for us because we want to make sure that we keep the gun level during the shots. I've told you over and over and over and over and over again, a level pistol shoots level. The more we are manipulating that pistol, the more chances are we're going to have a problem with anticipation or shooting low and left. Because when most people look at a pistol, they are using, because we wear optics, right? So if you've got the gun out in front of you and you dip your head to get to the gun, well, you're not looking through the gun. You're looking over the gun. You just dipped your head to get through it. So if you get the gun up in your line of sight, then you have the ability to bend at your waist to aim the gun and not your wrist. Remember, if we bend our wrist when we're aiming the gun, we're going to change that gun to an angle that's going to cause us to shoot low. if we got the gun up in our line of sight and we bend at our waist to get it there, we're going to shoot more of a level pistol. And what? A level pistol does what? It shoots level. Simple and easy. So maintaining trigger pressure after each shot, reset smoothly. Don't immediately release the finger off the trigger. Instead, feel the reset point for the next shot. And now, reset's one of those things we have to explain. There's plenty of videos on my YouTube channel. But the more we can keep the gun out in front of us and control that release of that trigger, the reset itself makes it a lot easier for us to take the next shot. That's why a level pistol is so important to us, because if we have to reposition the gun each time by milking with your hands or something like that, you're not controlling it properly. How many of you run the pistol, men, with your pecs versus your hands? A lot of people muscle up a gun thinking they're going to control the gun with their muscles, and that's not what's going to happen. You're going to over torque with your hands, and you're going to over torque with your muscles. What you want to do is run your pecs, and when you use your pecs to run the gun, there's where the pressure comes on that pistol and keeps it forward. For women, it's about your back muscles and controlling it that way. You take what was she today? She was 77, I think. 77. And she came in with a revolver. And she was back there, and she was having a hard time. To the cameras, I was watching her. Her son's brought her in before. I kind of know her. She's up north lady, comes down during the wintertime, stays with her son. She travels in a vehicle. She travels to see her girlfriends and stuff like that. But she carries a revolver. The problem is she's now at a point where she can't engage that revolver and get the second shot, third shot, fourth shot off. So I showed her an EZ today. And within a short period of time, she was running circles with that thing. And with the revolver, she had no control. And what concerns me is that she's 77. She had plenty of power at 77, but I can tell you that the trigger engagement on that weapon was very challenging for her. In another 2 years to 4 years, she won't be able to run that revolver. And this is the challenge for ladies. Don't let somebody talk you into buying a revolver without you shooting it first. Because the revolvers are great and wonderful. They're simple. They're simplistic. That's why men always are telling women, we need to get you a revolver because you can't rack a slide. Well, the 77-year-old woman loaded a magazine and racked a slide today. And she's got some dexterity issues. So that EZ and Equalizer from Smith & Wesson are phenomenal for people with dexterity issues. So don't let somebody tell you that you can't do something. When you learn what you're doing, you can do anything. I just think the revolver is part of an arsenal. I don't think it's your choice, especially as you get older, because the EZ was meant for 70-year-old people. Smith & Wesson put together a weapon that was for women and men with dexterity issues that were easy racking and easy loading. I don't know if you've ever seen an EZ, but the magazine itself has a cheater bar on it, so it makes it super easy to load. And on top of that, the weapon itself is easy racking. Now, the Equalizer is just as easy to rack, but it may not be that best help loading due to the fact that doesn't have the cheater bar. But the Equalizer physically comes with a loader, so vice versa, one way or another, tomato, whatever. But it kind of gives you that ability to understand it. All right, so grip stability. This is number 4, grip stability. Ensuring you have a firm grip, but not Arnold Schwarzenegger grip. You know, what tends to happen, a firearm is a bully. And if you give it something, it's going to take it like any bully would, right? So what does that mean? If I'm doing some kind of weird grip where I'm burying my thumb or I'm not touching fat all the way around the gun, you know, a lot of times you'll see guys in the back and they'll dump this thumb down onto the handle and try to wrap everything around. Unfortunately, that's blocking the fat or the fatness of your hand going all around. When you work on the 2 thumbs forward grip, this is the one we've shown multiple times. Visit my YouTube channel. Visit anybody's channel, not just mine. You'll see the 2 thumbs forward grip gives you the most contact of skin on the pistol to allow you to control it. Where most women and seniors have a problem is they're not gripping well enough with their hands and the weapon comes out of their hand because they're over gripping with their dominant hand, which is only 3 fingers, and they're not gripping hard enough with their non-dominant hand. Remember, your non-dominant hand is 4 fingers gripping the gun and then 3 fingers gripping the gun. And you got to be high up on the tang. You got to keep your hands down from the bottom of the plate and bring them up here. So when you grab that hand and put it out in front of you, these hands are squeezing together. We're putting that vise together almost like this and putting the gun in there. And once you put the gun in there, it becomes easy to control it because you got all that fat around the gun. The more you block that fat around the gun, that's where the weakness is going to come. I did a video 2 days ago, a short of some kind, and I had a level line across there, and I was showing a bad grip versus a good grip and how much muzzle flip we were getting. And that's what it is, muzzle flip. It's flipping out of your hand, or we're milking while we're shooting, which is we're squeezing and grabbing because we just don't have the best control. To ensure a firm grip, a consistent grip, and a weak grip, you need to understand where they are and how they are. And that's kind of important to get the feel of it. Once you understand what you need to do to get that gun under control, you're going to be able to run any pistol at that point in time. Gentlemen, I will tell you, if you've never tried your pecs to shoot pistol, you'll never go backwards on that because that kind of gives you that drive to control it. Think about majority of the time. Last time you were at the range, you can think about this. How many times was the gun dipping down when you were shooting? Or was it weapon rising and falling? What we want is a rise and fall, a natural rise and fall, not a TV rise and fall. You know what that is? With the TV guns on the movies, and the movies and the TVs don't have any recoil. They're not real. So what they do is they emulate recoil management. And we catch people in the back all the time letting the muzzle flip up, which is good because we have this horizontal line between our eyes, but it's not good if we're doing it, not the gun. Because now we're lifting way off the line and we got to bring the gun back down before we shoot it again. So the muzzle on 9mm is not putting enough muzzle flip to cause that gun to rise that high above it. And then if you're shooting when you get done and the weapon is pointed down, well, you're not gripping hard enough and you're not driving with your back muscles, that gun should stay as level as the guys and maybe just rise just a little bit during the shot. And if it's rising just a little bit during the shot, it's just coming off the line, back to the line, off the line, back to the line. If you're coming below the line, then you got to bring it back up to get you back to your shot system. So grip stability. I put breath control in here because, and a handgun, there really isn't a lot of manipulation happening with your chest heaving. Unlike a rifle, for instance, 100 yards, what they recommend is take a deep breath, exhale about half of it out, hold, then get on the trigger and just slowly engage. The reason why I put breath control in here is that a lot of people who are new to shooting hold their breath during the 5 shots. This is why we kind of always recommend 5, because if you try to hold through 15 rounds, you'd be red as face. And I get a lot of students look at me afterwards and they go, it was like they were holding their breath the whole time, because they were trying to get to the recoil and they forgot to breathe. So I have to grab, breathe, stupid, breathe. No, I'm just kidding. But the concept is we got to be able to breathe to the shots because we are very easily, we can heave up and down. I've had a lot of these seniors that come here and they get to the point where they're shallow breathing anyways because they have some kind of problem. I had a guy that had some issue with his, he doesn't have oxygen, but he once in a while, and he was holding his breath. I told him, you got to breathe, brother. And he started shooting a lot better because when he was holding his breath, it was causing him not to get a full deep breath in. And it was causing him to be fatigued a lot quicker. So take a deep breath in, exhale halfway, hold it while taking the shot. This minimizes body movement and keeps you focused steady. So that is the 5. Now I'm going to give you 5 drills I think I would love you to try. And these 5 drills are in this book right here. This is the newest ebook. And you can scan that barcode to pick it up. It's press that trigger. And these are really, really great drills. A lot of drills that are done, a lot of these are dry fire drills. Dry fire drills are great because they work on trigger manipulation, understanding trigger travel. With trigger travel, what do we need? We need a good focus on the sight system, and we need a good grip. So it helps us out tremendously putting a bunch of stuff together. Great thing about dry fire drills is there's no money involved in it. You don't have to go to the range. You don't have to spend a lot of ammo time. You don't have to do a lot of that stuff. If you did 20 to 25 dry fires a day and come on the weekend, you'd be surprised how well your trigger engagement is. I can tell you if you come to the range and you spend, let's just say you did 25 dry fires, one of these drills I'm going to give you today, and 25 dry fires before you start your session, you'll be surprised how well you shoot. You'll be surprised how well you understand trigger travel. You'll be surprised how accurate you can become with a gun. Okay? So drills to improve your trigger control. So we all know what dry fire is. Dry fire is actually taking a weapon, racking the slide, make sure it's empty, magazines out, no ammo in the room. It's inherently dangerous to dry fire in your home, especially if you have your ammo bag and your magazines and all that stuff in the same room. So I recommend you go somewhere totally different than where any of your ammo, your bags, or anything else. So there's no mistakes happening. So we're going to have to pull a trigger here, guys. And I want to press a trigger, guys. Press the trigger. So we want to make sure you understand you got to be in a room. There's nothing in it at all. And then you need to let everyone know in the house that you're dry firing, blah, 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 and all that stuff like that. So dry firing basically is racking the slide, finding your sight system as best you can, push it out in front of you, and slowly begin to take the slack out of that trigger until the weapon cuts. Now, if you did it right, there is no bobbling in the front post. It's going to be level, no issue, beautiful, great. If you pulled it too fast, you're going to see a jerk or a movement or a bobble of the front post, and that told you that you did something too fast, maybe not gripping right. There's a lot of different stuff. The objection to dry firing is practicing trigger travel without live ammunition. It gives you the ability to understand what we end up doing and where I joke and kid all the time, but the monster inside each and every one of us is a gun hater. It doesn't want to be around guns. It doesn't like firearms. It doesn't want you to have a firearm. Did you know you had a Democrat inside you? But okay, that was my little joke. So you have a Democrat inside of you, and it wants gun control. It doesn't want you to shoot. So every time you pull the trigger, it's going, let's get out of here. I gotta go. I don't want to be here. The loud, the recoil, the bang. Loud, the recoil, the bang. So when you get down to the point, we've all done this before, when you think you have 5 rounds in the gun, but you only had 4, and you go to engage that trigger that last time, and it does a recoil and bang, and what do? You shudder with the weapon. So you're anticipating the recoil. Now, that can be proven very quickly by having one of your friends, one of your pals, one of your buddies put in a dummy round in one of your mags and let you go out there shooting. And then you don't know if it's loaded or where it's going to do it. And let's see how well you do through your trigger travel. And when a weapon cuts, do you stand still? Do you dip it a little bit? There are snap caps you can use to protect your firing pin. I don't know if you need them really, but you can do it. Great dry firing is something that can be done, and it's recommended to be done to kind of get you the understanding of how much it falls, how much it moves, how much creep you have, how much you get it back. If you think about fishing, for instance, this is one thing that I always tell people about dry firing. Think about this. You got a bobber, you got a hook, you got a worm, and you got it out there. And you forgot to reel in the 25 feet of slack at your feet. So the world record trout comes up and grabs your hook, and takes your bobber underwater. And you go and jerk the rod as hard as you can. You going to catch that fish? Nope. You know why? Because you got all that slack. Unless you let that trout take all that slack out of that line before you engage it, you're not going to set the hook. So keep in mind, we need to get the slack out of these triggers without taking most of the travel out, so we can finalize the shot system. And when you get that trigger back to a certain point where it's only a few more just before it fires, then you finalize your sight system and finish the shot. There is consistent trigger engagement at that point in time. And once you start doing those over and over again, they become muscle memory. And muscle memory, you don't have to think about at that point in time. It becomes it. So the next drill I would recommend is called the wall drill. You know what you need? You need a wall. Now you need a wall, a pistol, and a magazine, and that's it. And this is a neat little thing. I recommend a white wall if you can. Something that you could get against them. You could do this at the range too, against a target if you wanted to. And what we're trying to do with this wall drill is we're trying to minimize muzzle movement. And that muzzle movement can be up and down or right or left. And this is kind of one of those same things. So dry fire drills are more understanding trigger snap. The wall drill is more muzzle movement. And we want to make sure we understand this. So what you do is you take your weapon, you rack it. Again, make sure you're in a room when there's no ammo, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then you put that muzzle of that weapon as close as you can to the wall without touching it. Now, on a white wall, if you have any colored sight system on it, if you got a black gun against the white wall, you're really going to see some movement. And then push it out in front of you, get a good grip, get a good stance, and just slowly begin to take that travel out of the trigger and let the trigger snap. And when it snaps, I want you to be focusing on the very front post. And I want you to tell me, did the muzzle move? And if it didn't, congratulations, you got a great trigger pull. Don't worry about it. But most people have trigger movement. And it comes from fluctuation of hand strength. It comes from not having enough power with your dominant hand, but having too much power of your dominant hand, not enough power with your non-dominant hand, or milking, where you open your hands up and close your hands. A lot of that's done by women who can't are feeling that the gun's going to come out of their hand. A lot of seniors have that problem. So this wall drill, the objective of it is to minimize the muzzle movement during a trigger engagement. Think about this. When you look at a target today, well, the little old lady, she did a circle with her bullets. They all were attached. They all touch each other, but she came up with a circle just like that. Open like a backward C, basically, is what it was. And she kept it all in front of them. They all touched each other. And she was trying to understand why it went that way. And I was just trying to explain to her that most likely she was holding onto the gun properly. And as it rolled out, she was applying just a little bit more pressure with her dominant hand versus her non-dominant hand. And it makes sense to me because she had some issue with that non-dominant thumb, that it didn't close properly. She had some surgery done on a while back, so it caused her a little bit more. But let me tell you, she was accurate as heck. So, that's kind of one of those things that we've got to get the control of the weapon the best way we can. And firearm constructor could give you advice, but you've got to put it together for your own methods. And not one method is going to work for everybody, but we have been doing this an awful long time, and I know what it takes for most people to be proficient. What do you consider proficient? I consider if you can hit a 6-inch paper plate, 3, 5, 7, and 10 yards, you're good. Now, if you're hitting that 3-inch paper plate or 6-inch paper plate at the bottom of the 6-inch paper plate all the time, you need to work on your sight adjustment, especially at 10 yards and things like that. So the wall drill, you need to stand the wall as close as you can with the firearm aiming at the wall or a small dot or a mark, and perform a slow, deliberate trigger engagement without disturbing your aim. Well, this is really cool because what it does for us is really understands that trigger manipulation. You won't see too many people that can do that and not bobble that front post just a little bit. And remember, that much bobble at 3 yards, 5 yards, and 7 yards wouldn't be much, but that much bobble at 10 yards could be 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches down, especially if you're manipulating. One caveat to the wall drill you can do is called the pencil drill. And the pencil drill is you take a pencil, rubber nose pencil, eraser, stick that in the weapon, rack your slide, get to the wall drill again like we were doing, but this time you're going to put a 3x5 card on the wall. And it should be about where your line of sight is, and put a dot. And then I want you to do is engage that trigger and let that pencil come out and hit that 3x5 card. And once it's done that, it's going to put a hole where the pencil is. Boom. Now, you want to do that again, rack it, and reset it, and put your hands out in front of you, and do it again. And you want to do 6, 10, 12 of these. Doesn't really matter how many you do. Now, you're going to look at your 3x5 card. Now, if every one of those dots is almost in the same spot, well, that's a pretty good trigger pull. But if one's above your dot, one's below your dot, one's to the right of your dot, one's to the left of your dot, those are manipulations you're doing with the pistol. And the more you do that pencil drill, it's an easy way to understand how much drift I'm getting on that thing, because the pencil is going to poke the hole in the 3x5 card every time. I'm going to do a video on the pencil drill next week to kind of show it to you. But I think I've explained it well enough that you can understand it. That's a real good drill to help you tremendously get trigger control down to a science that you can get more understanding what's happening to the pistol. Number 3 is the penny drill. Now, I have demonstrated this on my YouTube channel before, but a penny, quarter, dime, it don't really matter. I used a penny drill. I physically did a piece of, I just did a video just a couple days ago. It was released because we're promoting the new ebook, and some of these drills were in that ebook, and I wanted to go ahead, and we'll actually link that video down below in the descriptions if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. But you take the penny and you put it on your front post and you hold it there and you line everything up and you bring your hand up really slow and you slowly engage the trigger and cut that trigger. If that penny falls off your front post, then you've done some pulling or jerking of some kind. Now, I did really well with the penny. I think the penny's the easiest one to do because it's a flat surface, and I was shooting a Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, which has a flat surface on top of it, so it made it very easy for us to get that manipulation. I was able to do the pistol shell. I take a 9mm shell, put it on top of the front post, lift it up, find your sight system, and slowly pressed it. I went through the press, and then when I went to go take it down, it fell. And I tell you guys, I don't edit my videos, so I was able to either do it or not do it. And I probably could have done it 3 or 4 more times and would have got it perfectly. But I just wanted to show it to you. The objective of developing a steady engagement, this helps us tremendously because not only do we have to keep the penny balanced, but we've got to keep us under control as well. Place the penny on the front sight or slide for handguns. Practice pressing the trigger without letting the penny fall. This is a good thing to do with a bunch of buddies, and it is a fun little drill to do. You can do it with pennies. You can do it with 9mm shells, 45 shells, and they're all going to do the same thing. If you're manipulating it properly, that shell will stay on top of it. If you can get it up there, you remember you got to hold it here, put the shell in there, and then get it up, finish up here. The video will be down below if you want to take a look at it. We have attached a video to this thing, so but that's a cool drill called the penny drill. Number 4 is the ball and dummy. I already mentioned this to you, but the ball and dummy drill, basically, ball is the actual dummy round. Oh, well, it's rounds, and then dummy is the dummy round. And you need help and support with this one. Take buddies, go to the range, shoot 4 rounds live. 1 is dummy. Put that dummy round somewhere in the mix of the 4. Have your buddy load your magazine up and slowly engage the trigger through each 5 shots. You'll be able to get yourself in a position where once you've shot enough, that when the dummy round clicks, your manipulation will be less. Loading, flinching and jerking are very common. The anticipation of recoil management. Remember, without doing any kind of drills, without doing any kind of dry fire drills, every time you touch the pistol, your weapon fires. And in anticipation of that, your body tenses up. So ideally, what we're looking for you to do is to get somebody in there that can mix it up for you so you can not know when they're going to go bang and not know when they're going to kick off. So load a mix of live rounds and a snap cap or a dummy round into a magazine. The surprise of the click instead of a bang helps reveal any kind of anticipation and flinching. This was done by Johnny and I last summer. I was able to get through them. He got me once or twice. In fairness, we've been shooting most of the day, so I was kind of had my trigger on that day, so it was kind of nice. So it was pretty simple for me to do. But the ball and dummy drill is a great drill with a couple buddies to go out. You don't spend a lot of money. And keep in mind, I preach this all the time. More bullets you put down range doesn't make you more accurate. You spend a lot of time fighting recoil, right? Fighting recoil management. So I can tell you this, if you lower your round count in your magazines to 5, you're going to have better training classes because you're going to make every bullet count. And I'll be honest with you, I would stick to 50 rounds, 100 at the max. Don't shoot more than 100 rounds at a time. Not that I know people come to the range and want to get the most out of it, but if you think past 100 rounds, how much more accurate are you going to be? If someone gave you 18 holes of golf and you shot your 18 and you went in the clubhouse and they gave you another 18 for free, we do it. Do you think we're going to shoot better than the first 18? Probably not. Probably not. So just keep your rounds count down to a level that you can control. All right, and number 5 is a reset drill. We talked about reset earlier, but a reset drill basically is a reset of a pistol. Now, in the book, I explain it deeply. Trying to explain reset to the novice is very hard to do without having a gun in your hand, but I'm going to try it right here. If you think about it, we rack the slide, we put around the chamber, and we begin to slowly engage the trigger. At a certain point, this weapon is going to cut, which means the firing pin is going to hit the back of the bullet, and that's going to cause the gases, the powder in the maggot, the powder in the bullet, the casing to fire and send the projectile to the front of the barrel. Now, if you're holding that trigger straight back and not letting it creep forward, once you set that gun back in your line of sight, if you release that trigger just a little bit, you'll hear an audible click. And once that audible click is heard, that's as far as the trigger needs to go to reset itself to allow you to gauge the trigger again. And this reset allows us a shorter stroke on the front side of that trigger. When we release it all the way out, then we're pulling that trigger all the way back. If we bring it out to the reset click, it's an audible click you'll hear. Then from there, it's just a slow trigger engagement back, and we're not running into so many different trigger travels or trigger manipulation. So the reset drill is one of those things, once you've got the concept of it, it's pretty simple and easy. Now, do I think you need to shoot the reset all the time? No, I think it slows you down. I think if we kind of think about this, I'm a defensive shooter. A defensive shooter only needs to hit an 8-inch paper plate. I'm asking you to train with 6-inch paper plates because I know you can hit a 6-inch paper plate. The 8-inch paper plate's going to be even easier. So if you get a 6-inch paper plate and work your 3, 5, 7s out there, the reset is pretty easy to do. Now, reset can be done dry and live. So dry, basically same room, no ammo, none of that stuff. Rack it, hold it back, engage the trigger, it clicks, rack it, let it come forward, reset, and slowly press the trigger again. A little more daunting, but it can be done live. It can be done in your home as long as you've got the safety going on there. The real reset drills are done inside the range, though, so this really helps us out tremendously because it lets us understand trigger release. It's the clicking of the audibles of it, and it's a great thing. What this reset drill does is master trigger reset control. After firing a shot, you're going to keep the trigger pressed all the way back and slowly release it until you hear or feel a reset. Now, what that means is you may have muffs on, you may not hear the audible click, but you will actually feel the audible click in your hand, then fire again. This helps the unnecessary trigger movement. And an unnecessary trigger movement causes that manipulation that we're talking about. I've done many videos on reset on my YouTube channel, and just I think Monday I released the trigger release button. I released the YouTube video for that. So that kind of gave you the ability to understand what reset is. There are a lot of people that shoot a ton of reset. There are a lot of people who don't even know what a reset is. But at the end of it, they all are going to help us tremendously get comfortable. So we put together this list for you. I thought it would be good. We got started it last week. Powers to Be didn't like what we were doing with the dummy weapons, the lasers. Some spiders shut us off. So I wanted to redo it just for that purpose to kind of give it to you. Don't forget about these ebooks, guys. These ebooks will help us tremendously, get you more confident with a pistol, help you out tremendously. Our newest one is this one right here, which is press that trigger. And then we got the grip one from the week ago, about 3 weeks ago, excuse me. And then we have the 10 Secrets to a Firearms Instructor. And then the last one is Why You Shoot Low and Left. And from now until the end of the year, we've got them on a holiday special. You can download any of these ebooks through our YouTube store or through our website by just downloading the $1.99. It's very simple, very easy. These are not long books, guys, but they are written very plain English you can understand, and they're a good point that you can have when you go to the range. Some people need to watch a video and do it. Some people need to read it, watch it, and do it. And some people just need to read it. We want to put these learning methods all together for you. So majority of our YouTube channel and these ebooks are all correlated together, if you think about it, because every one of these drills I just explained to you are on our YouTube channel. Every one of the grip foundation things are on our YouTube channel. And then we share this information from not only our YouTube channel, but we share it through all of our social media accounts. So if you have an opportunity, you want to support us, you can only support us by just no money. You can always hit the bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button, and that supports us tremendously. Don't forget, YouTube has a lot of little things that they offer you guys. We do have memberships through our YouTube channel as well. And then we do have our ebooks, and we do have other stuff that you can do as well. We're not asking you to do much, but just don't forget to hit the bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button. And every time we upload a video just like this one, you'll be the first to know. We've got some comments up top here. I'd like to say Jose Fernandez, Sean Daltrey. Okay, Sean. All right. If nothing else, guys, I wanted to say thank you very much for being here. And until next time, we'll see you. God bless. Be safe. And remember, you are your first line of defense. Good night, guys. I love you very much. We'll see you next week.